Hi, it's Todd with Love Recon. Hey, I just want to share a story with you today that had a big impact on me years ago, and it's a powerful little story. So anyway, the story is about little Johnny. Little Johnny was a unruly young man, and he got into a lot of fights. He was very mean with his words, very sharp with his words to people. He could pretty much shred people apart with his words. His dad noticed this was happening and wasn't quite sure how to handle it. So one afternoon, he invited Johnny to his shop. He said, little Johnny, you get into a lot of fights. He said, you're pretty mean with your mouth and things that you say to people. He said, I want you to do something. Every day that you get into a fight or you say something mean to someone, I want you to come home and I want you to put a hammer and nail in this board. So little Johnny started doing that. And man, right off the bat, he was just hammering nails away, every time he did one of these things. But as he began to realize what was happening, he started slowing down a little bit. So all of a sudden, little Johnny went back to his dad and he had filled that board up. He said, Dad, that board's all filled up with nails now. He said, good, let's go out to the shop again. I want to show you something. He said, son, I noticed that you were putting them in much faster at the beginning than at the end. I'm proud of you for slowing down and realizing what's happening. But now I want to challenge you. Every time that you're tempted to do one of these things, acts of meanness or unkindness, I want you to come home and you don't do it. I want you to pull one of those nails out of that board. So little Johnny started coming home every day and he started pulling those nails out of the board one by one as he was tempted to be mean. So eventually, it took him longer to get the nails out than it did to put them in, of course. But eventually he went back to his dad and he said, Dad, I've emptied that board. There are no more nails in that board. It's clean. He said, let's go back to the shop. I want to show you something. He said, son, so here's the real lesson that I wanted to teach you. Every time you do something mean and you get into a fight or you say something mean, you hammered that nail in, right? And then you felt bad about it and you were tempted and you didn't do it. So now you pulled that nail out. But what I wanted to show you, son, is every time you hammered a nail into that board, even though you pulled it out, even though you might have even said, I'm sorry, you still left a scar on their heart and in their lives. Wow. Well, I used to handle things with bitterness and anger too. From a child, I was picked on, I was bullied, so I had to learn to fight and take care of myself. And after I quit doing the fighting, then I began to become real sharp with my mouth, and I could tear somebody apart with my mouth. That little story about little Johnny could really have been about me, and it probably could be about you too. What I've learned in my older years now is that the more I've gentled up and shown people kindness and love, the more people are attracted to me and the more they lean into me. The more that I handle things with anger or unkindness, the more I shove people away from me and they don't want to be around. So iron sharpens iron, and that's what I'm hoping this does today. So if you're handling things with anger, stop. Be gentle, be kind, show more love. The place that I learned to get rid of my anger and my bitterness was a place called Love Recon. Check it out at loverecon.org. It's one of the most amazing 4-day journeys that you'll ever go through. It's a place that you can lay down your anger and not have to deal with it ever again. Hope you have a great afternoon. Thanks for joining me.